Welcome everyone to Playoffs, where we have 5 games ready to flourish and to be broken down in this video. So, strap on in as we take a look at Fnatic vs XL. Game 1 time, let's get into draft. As this is a best of 5, we get to talk bans. Throughout this series, we are gonna see 4 constant first bans. These are the Draven, the Kalista for Fnatic, and the Zeri and Azir for XL. As you can see, 3 of these are targeted at the bot lane, which, if you cannot tell, is kind of the story of this matchup. If you want to know the importance of Patrick and Upset, then I need to point you to week 8 of the LEC. Upset on Zeri simply put Fnatic in a backpack and carried them into playoffs. As for Patrick, he used his comfort pick of the Draven to win out in convincing fashion in the tiebreaker against Vitality, which also got them into playoffs. As such, with the 2 pivotal picks that got these teams to playoffs removed from the board the entire series, this does put emphasis on other champions. One of those champions is Lucian. And while this does seem slightly odd to be picked, as it is not prevalent in the meta right now, it is, however, both these players' second most played champion that they found success on. And when it's removed or picked, it makes it harder for the other player to actually deal with it. Fnatic first picked this for themselves, which allows XL to pivot into a pick that they've found some success with too, in the Nyla. During a breakdown we recently just did with G2 vs XL, we did see this pick, but we didn't get to talk about it too much. This series, we're going to get to talk about it for a little bit, but not too much other than game 1. So, let's get into that matchup. Loading onto the Rift, 34 minutes onto the clock, XL have just taken a gold lead after securing the Baron. The big purple worm has just dissipated off of the XL players, and they are still applying pressure on the top side of the Rift. They take the tier 2 turret, and immediately they are trying to catch out the Ahri. Humanoid uses his Everfrost, and this keeps the jungler and ADC of XL away. On top of this, Fnatic are collapsing a lot quicker than XL, so when the Culling and Tidal Wave combo are thrown at Marcoon, he is immediately forced into status to avoid the burst from Fnatic. Likewise, Patrick is forced into status due to the Gwen getting on top of him, being tagged by the wave as well. Patrick is honestly lucky to survive this. Essentially, his mid laner pulls the ultimate peel move as he dives headfirst into Fnatic, rooting 3 and flashing perfectly on top of the Poppy to avoid her ulti. Nuke Duck does not kill anyone on Fnatic. Nuke Duck then falls, and then it's the turn of Finn to follow him to the grave, as a max range charm tags him, allowing this Fnatic front to back snowball to kill off the top laner. Fnatic want to ace XL here so that they can push for the win. Poppy hasn't really used her kit fully, and using the remains of her W, she flashes onto Nyla so she cannot E safely, and then knocks her into the wall, trying to lock her up. However, we mentioned Poppy wasted her ult trying to hit Nuke Duck, and she fails, and that means that there's not enough CC to keep Nyla in place. E into Afroceasis, into Flash Whirlybird. Gives a quick 2 kills over to XL's unstoppable ADC. But this ADC is still bloodthirsty as she is looking to kill off the Poppy, but a miraculous heal comes through, keeping the jungle alive for Fnatic. But one thing that isn't staying alive is Fnatic's hopes in Game 1, as this game goes over to XL and the 1-0 lead in this series. Drafts are up once more, and we see a lot of similarities with Game 1's draft. But the big thing to note is Nyla is out of action, and Sivir is in as the triple ADC bans force a change to XL's picks. Aside from this, Fnatic have gotten a little more bulk in the top side with Shiv joining the lineup. But the biggest change can be seen in the mid lane matchup. Gone is the Ahri and Lissandra, and hello to the Sylas and the TF. As a whole, this does change XL's playstyle heavily, as there is more emphasis on the side lanes than there is on teamfighting. So when we transition into the game, let's highlight this style. 18 minutes on the clock, and Upset is stepping up into the mid lane to clear out the pushing minions. He feels confident with this, as Hilly and Razork are shadowing him. However, XL are setting up their own devious play. With Destiny ready and prepped, and a charge coming through, Upset has nowhere really to go. As the pathway he takes has kind of been cut off, he is just a lost cause, immediately taken out. And while Poppy tries to block the incoming Kled, I feel Upset had no chance regardless, as the collapse from XL is just so damn quick, he has no time to respond to this clearly premeditated play that eventually leads to Poppy falling too. But why does Upset feel he is safe to step up? Firstly, XL just took the mid lane turret, so he expects them to take a reset and buy up. Furthermore, Finn just TP'd bot, so he isn't really expecting him to leave lane. As such, Upset steps up into the Yuumi, who it appears is just there to hold the wave while waiting for Patrick to return. So naturally, this looks safe, and a reasonable position for a Lucian to stand with, his dash and his flash available. And as such, he doesn't expect the collapse to happen, and thus that is how Game 2 realistically ends, in a shock way, with XL taking a 2-0 lead. Well, let's rip off the plaster, shall we? Game 3, the longest game in LEC playoffs so far, and Fnatic make the big changes to their comp. Gone is the Lucian and the Nami, and in comes the Twitch Yuumi. This alters that playstyle and teamfight dynamic even more for Fnatic, as the burst heavy Lucian and Nami combination has been exchanged for that surprise attacking lockdown combo. Getting onto the Rift, we are sat on the edge of Fnatic's base, with XL looking to win this series right here and right now. After a little trade bot side, Humanoid returns to the fountain to go back top to clear out the crashing wave. He uses this opportunity to steal the Paranoia, which I'm actually surprised happens, as Nuke Duck has had his W up probably for this period, but he is also not expecting Sylas's ult to be back up so soon. Following this, the low health Sedge loses her frost armor to a Q from the Yuumi. This takes away the double resistance she has, which in tow causes the engage for Sylas onto her. While Sedge isn't the first to fall, a decent final chapter comes out, which tags the Lulu, who is forced to burn all her tools on herself and not her ADC or the carries of XL, which could be considered a mistake because you are already essentially dead when you are stunned. XL tried to turn the fight here with a slicing maelstrom and Sivir pumping out damage, but the Yuumi drops the exhaust onto the cannon, reducing what he can do to Fnatic, which would have easily won XL the fight. However, Fnatic finally get what they want, the flash out of Patrick, as he is forced to burn it on the Gragas cask. This means the main damage for XL cannot protect his teammates, and one by one they fall, as Sedge and Cannon die in quick succession. This leaves the Sivir in a bad place as her GA is broken, and she is easily killed in a 4-0 fight that surprisingly went to Fnatic. With something that kind of shocks us, Lucian Army, a bot lane that struggled in the 2 game losses for Fnatic, is back in, but with a new jungle and top pick that are built to bully lanes and put down the opposition in comparison to those weaker laners that are built to carry teamfights. Let's pivot into said teamfight though. 31 minutes on the clock, Baron is in the eyes of XL, however Fnatic are looking to respond. Razork gets into the pit and boom, the big purple worm is stolen. XL are now caught in said pit, and Nyla can only make it out if a teammate gives her an escape. But in this situation, someone on XL will essentially die as penance for attempting this Baron, especially when Nyla is essentially now taking a greedy E onto the opposition Sylas, which allows the Trundle and Renekton to get on top of her and stun her to death. Now, if you look at XL's comp, this only really leaves them with one damage dealer, and that's the Ahri, who has been zoned out, which leaves the front line for XL to die, as Upset's Lucian finally gets to flourish in this series, giving us a tied series heading into Silver Scrapes. Game 5, and I was surprised after the first 2 games that we've ended here at Game 5, and it went this far because, let's be honest, the opening 2 games were so convincing for XL, I didn't think we'd get past the Game 3, and that nearly came true. But clutching up in the right situations is the best way to describe this Fnatic roster. Gonna be brutally honest, this is recorded after they've just beaten the Mad Lads on day 3 of the second round, so they're going to Malmö, and they're going for a group stage spot alongside Rogue. That's going to be a good battle, because the Fnatic draft, I think, has improved throughout playoffs. They've been hard to lock down as a whole. Mad, well, Misfits, we'll ignore that series. That was not much of a game between them 2 teams. But while Mad broke Fnatic in the game. They haven't really found success with how Fnatic have been drafting. And you've got to realize Fnatic have been relying heavily on izlogic. You cannot let this man get Trundle. I was not too pleased with how he played Poppy in this series against XL, because the opening 2 games, all we need to say is his Poppy was inconsistent. It wasn't really allowed to play the map. His Trundle, on the other hand, if you give him that pick, he will just steal your jungle away minute 1 and just force you into such a bad position. I just need to look at the Misfit series where he got to basically split the map bot side and not allow Neon and Mercer to farm. He's been prevalent and kind of the start of this Fnatic roster, this split. While in spring people thought he wasn't that good. Now here in this series, I didn't think he was too good in the opening games, as I've said, but he stepped up. And stealing the Baron kept Fnatic in this series in Game 4. Game 3, being able to just be a menace on his picks meant that there was nothing really that XL could do when they found fights. Lastly, I just need to say, the bot lane and the draft, the solution Nami pick, it can be broken. Teams manage to beat it, and that's a big thing to say, because the rest of the draft, they just ban away strong things. And the issue is, with Fnatic and more specifically Upset now, in the regular split, he played pretty much everything. So if you ban away this Lucian, if you ban away the Zeri, which he found success in week 8, we harped that up at the beginning of the video, and if you say ban away a Sivir, he goes straight for the Callista. I honestly think blue side favors whoever facing Fnatic, and the target bans realistically should be thrown out. We saw how Fnatic drafted with picking up the solution. This was because it was the second most played, the most successful second pick for both him and Patrick, and purely based on that, he was like, I'll take this for myself, thank you, gimme gimme. XL, they really couldn't answer too well. I guess the Nyla did work, but that was a bit of a hardball, because Lucian was allowed to burst out people into Game 4 and 5. And you honestly, I think, to shut this pick down, you need to be the team that gets the Trundle. That's personally how I see it. You get the Trundle, you can put pillars down, stop him from rotating, you take away his safety, or a Volley Bear. Volley's been out of meta, I know, it's not that strong anymore, but something that can lock him down very easily will help you beat him. You need to get onto Upset, and I'm gonna say this, other regions are developing things with Seraphine, they're developing things with Senna. As a region EU, the only team that's done this so far in playoffs is G2, and I'm realistically hoping we see G2 versus Fnatic in the finals, although I do want Rogue to get an upper or group stage spot. I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a good battle between the two teams. And you know, I was thinking coming into playoffs, oh, Fnatic are dead last year. They're not going to do well. And you know, it's kind of sad because that was the form of this team throughout this entire year, is they've struggled. But they're finding form when it matters, and that is now. And as such, I really can't wait for Malma. And with that, let's end this video off here. We've got one more breakdown, which is the LEC playoff finals. I don't see the point in breaking down the Mad series with Fnatic now after covering Fnatic's style so heavily in this video, because it was exactly the same in the Madline series. So, with that all said and done, thank you very much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, subscribe if you want to. See you guys next time, where we will be covering G2 versus either Rogue or Fnatic. Peace out.